Hello, students. So for week 2, we're going to have a pre-recorded session. I am going to ask you to very quickly go to Google Classroom, pause this video if you need to, go to Google Classroom and fill out the week 2 attendance form telling me that you watched this video on Google Classroom. And this is our agenda for today. So go ahead and quickly read through that agenda. As you can see, we'll be reconnecting, looking at key ideas, assignments, and then you can ask some questions in the comment box below. So take a minute to just pause this video again and drop an emoji in the comments box telling me how you're feeling about distance learning. I know we've had a very rocky start. And now we're going to go ahead and look at some of the key ideas for week 2. So for week 2, I just want you to think to yourself and answer this question. What do you think of when you hear the word Africa? Because we are covering the African civilization. So looking at our map, Africa is in the very middle of our world map here. It is the largest continent and it is extremely diverse. In the middle, we have rainforests, and then above and below the equator line, we have a grassland called the savanna. There's also the largest desert, the Sahara Desert, in northern Africa. So the 3 kingdoms we're going to focus on are the West African kingdoms located here of Ghana, Mali, Songhai, the East African kingdoms of Aksum in Ethiopia, and the Southern Kingdom of Zimbabwe. And when you watch the video, these kingdoms all existed between 100 and 1500 CE. They all also conducted trade along the Sahara Desert. So we call this the trans, meaning across, Saharan, name of the desert, trade. They did this through caravans. So they brought their camels and they would exchange goods and services from the Middle East and Europe with Africa. Timbuktu, located here, right in the middle of the trade routes, is going to become a very important trading center, as you guys will hear in the video that you watched today. Okay. So thinking about the religions present in Africa, African villages started off as largely animistic societies, and they still are. Many villages still practice a form of animism mixed with Islam and Christianity, which come later. But to focus on animism for right now, this is the idea that everything has a spirit. And there's, in African culture, an emphasis on the ancestor, the founding ancestor. And it's believed that this founding ancestor can help you communicate with the gods. So looking at this mask up here, this is a ceremonial mask that was used in a dance ritual to communicate with the spirits in everything in nature. One key person that you will have to remember, just because he's so awesome, is Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa was a king of one of those West African kingdoms of Mali, and he dominated that trans-Saharan trade with the salt and gold that he had in his area, and he also improved his capital city of Timbuktu. To give you an idea of just how rich this guy was, he is considered the richest man who ever lived. Okay, so historians estimate that he had about $400 billion in wealth. To give you an idea, the richest man in America, Jeff Bezos, has $114 billion, founder of Amazon. So Mansa Musa is incredibly awesome. Okay, let's take a look at some of those assignments. So just to give you some information before we jump into those assignments on your website, the first assignment concentrates on these 2 explorers here. Ibn Battuta was a Moroccan scholar and explorer who traveled throughout the Islamic empires. It's about 75,000 miles in 30 years. So he wrote down his observations in a travel book called a Rihla. Marco Polo does something quite similar. He is an Italian merchant and he travels through the Silk Road and writes down his travels as well. You guys are also going to be looking at an atlas that was created in Spain that was considered the greatest medieval map that was ever made. So it shows Jerusalem, Europe, Africa, and the East. In our next video, I'm going to walk you through some of the assignments and the video check on the distance learning website.